you're awake, Mr. Fury.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back after it doesn't feel like it's been as long as it's been.
I think it's felt as long as it's been, maybe even longer.
Well, because what was the last video we did was the Dennis Bermudez one,
Yeah,
which obviously was filmed before we put it up.
Which was filmed before we put it up and was just me, and obviously in a whole different setting outside. So
yeah, and the last podcast that we did was basically the end of November. So yeah, this is our first time sitting here in the stew since November, and I mean,
it's not like nothing's I would think it's fair to say a decent amount of stuff has happened since then, especially
true.
For you. So.
No, really for both of us. I've been in college. I understand finals, bro. But yeah, I mean, we never really addressed it on the podcast because I don't know why. I think we both figured that we were going to be in here one more time before we ended up taking the hiatus, which didn't happen. So then, we never told people that, I was going to have surgery and that it was going to take, a little bit to recover from. And obviously, I'm fine now. I'm here. Hey, everybody. And, you got through your finals, obviously. And so, now all the distractions are gone.
It feels like it's the new year already.
It does, which is so funny because it's December and
it's not even Christmas yet.
Yeah, but it's a new dawn. My gallbladderless era is beginning right now, and what a time for it to begin because we had a great heavyweight title fight, man, over the past weekend. Alexander Usyk rematching Tyson Fury. And this fight was a really good one in my opinion, but for those who didn't see it, let's talk a little bit about the result. Usyk defeats Fury in the rematch, unanimous decision, 116-112 across the board, so 8-4, and Usyk retains all of his titles. Should be undisputed, but he vacated the IBF, boxing politics. Somebody wants you to fight someone else next. IBF wants you to fight a different person. You guys know how it is. But Usyk defends all of his titles except obviously that one which he vacated. But in terms of the fight itself, I thought that both guys looked a lot better because Fury, it seemed like he took this one a lot more seriously coming in and really saw Usyk as a bigger challenge. He came in at 281 pounds instead of 262. You could tell he was looking for that power and that extra strength, and he did really well when he was moving forward, but his combinations were quick 1-2s maybe with a hook at the end. But then Usyk was actually getting 4 to 5 punch combinations. And a lot of the rounds were pretty similar. I don't know if you agree with this, but because Tyson would have these moments where he'd land these nice little combinations and then Usyk would make him pay for it and land just that slightly better combination. And it just seemed like the whole fight was like that. Whoever was really going forward was doing pretty well, and most people aren't able to get through Tyson Fury's reach, but Usyk did a great job at that throughout the fight and the first fight.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head with Tyson Fury. It's seeming like he's taking this rematch more seriously and going looking more for those power shots, that one punch knockout. Coming in at 280 it was?
281.
281. Yeah, that was super evident at the start of this fight. I think at this point it's fair to say Usyk is more of the slower starter. Compared to the last fight between these two, Usyk was more or less just trying to line up the combos and stuff, not actually, because you did have the knockdown in that first fight. You didn't have a knockdown in this fight, but that first fight seemed like Usyk was more or less feeling out Tyson, and Tyson was the one who was just a more, like you said, probably not taking Usyk as seriously, even though he was winning those first few rounds. And then, Usyk had the knockdown, and then it was all Usyk from there. which makes sense why that fight would be a split decision and that this one wouldn't be, because I think definitely that last fight was a tale of two fights. This one was more once Usyk really started coming forward, I think he just didn't look back. Like I said, Usyk's more the guy who's gonna put the punches together in a combination, whereas Tyson Fury is obvious. The jab, the uppercut, he's always got in his back pocket that he can kind of I guess stay reserved behind and not really exert as much energy trying to land these combos and stuff, especially when he's coming in over 60 pounds heavier than Usyk. So yeah, that's probably Tyson's his stature and his frame is just so much more imposing that like it is just tougher for Usyk to come forward and be that more aggressor. But no, it wasn't so much that Tyson was just backing Usyk into any corner that he wanted and just going to work on him. Like I think Usyk was just trying to find that opening, and then once he started coming forward, it was all Usyk's fight from there. But I mean, afterwards with Tyson, and I think you just kind of grow used to like this kind of attitude from Tyson Fury, like just the super cockiness, bravado from him. The Gypsy King and all that, sure, but I think like at this point it's kind of like when does the full credit come into play? Like when does Usyk really get that full credit he's deserved here? Because it's like, was Tyson looking for another?
Starting to get it a little. I mean, at least from people in boxing that I see. I guess maybe not from the casuals, but I don't really blame. I don't think that's a skill thing. I think it's more because Tyson, like you said, he's got that huge personality, Gypsy King, and Usyk is the complete opposite, very reserved. And I think when I think of Usyk, I think of almost like when Vladimir Klitschko was champion and dominant for such a long time, because the dude was clearly the best heavyweight on the planet, but he wasn't the type of guy who was going to talk and get people super excited for these fights. And plus, he was beating everybody. So it wasn't like there were a lot of people who he was going up against where you were like, oh, well, he might actually lose this fight. And if there was moments like that, it was against the people who weren't afraid to talk to him. And I think of people like David Haye, but David Haye lost against Klitschko, and after that it was only really Tyson Fury, and obviously we know what happened there.
But I just wonder if Tyson was looking for if he was surprised or something that this wasn't another split decision, for instance, when this fight
I'd say he was.
Yeah,
what did he say? He thought he won by at least 3 rounds?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, the last fight was definitely, I think, closer than this one. It made sense. So
it was weird though, because the last fight, they both had like their moments, but they were in different rounds. This fight, the rounds were a lot closer, but Usyk was getting the better.
I
like
liked
that
that both fights had the little sequence, the moment between the both of them, like clashing their heads, just rubbing their domes together and stuff.
That's
like
what happens when you go bald, man.
Yeah, exactly. That was just
That's like
funny.
the brotherhood. You don't know about that yet. I do.
That was just a funny symbolic moment in both fights that happened. So
bald bros gotta stick together.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is just, it's crazy to think how it has been like 7 months, so closer to a year between these two fights. There was a point where we weren't sure if we were ever gonna get these two facing off from each other, like whether or not how much Tyson Fury really had to gain, or even, I mean, maybe obviously there's stuff to gain, like Usyk's holding 3 belts, but more or less like what's for him to gain for his legacy. He's already, I think it's at this point, like I don't see anybody knocking Tyson Fury out, like I think like
the dude's got
Wilder's the closest we'll see exactly get to that.
It's just like, I think at heart, honestly, he's a competitor, and I think he sees somebody in Usyk, like, you think of the first fight, he seemed to think he was too small. And then you could see he kind of gained the respect after that fight. But in this fight, he seemed like he was taking it a lot more seriously, and he's taking that challenge seriously. But, you talk about feeling out processes. The first fight almost was that for this fight, because it seemed like Usyk had a better idea of what he had to do to win this fight, and that was to break Fury's range, which he did really well. And I think Fury realized that, okay, Usyk, yeah, he's small, but that means well, we say small, but for a heavyweight. He's small for a heavyweight, but he's super elusive, and that means when he does hit him, he has to hit him really hard, and that, he gains, 18, or wait, I can't do the math right now. 262 to 281, so almost 20 pounds pretty much. And I just think that both of them came into this fight with different mentalities, and I like the fact that Fury came in so much better, and then Usyk came in so much better. So it's like, yeah, both guys improved, but that kind of, they're going like parallel up, if you know what I mean. Like, they're not intersecting. Like Usyk, there was no tail off where Tyson could get to his level. They both kind of just went up like that. And I think that the better guy won this fight. I mean, he's won both fights at this point. When it comes to Tyson Fury, I think the allure of being the best in the world is still something that matters to him. And I do think he's a competitor, but right now it's Alexander Usyk, and he's got the belts to prove it. And there's options for both guys next that we should get into. But I actually want to get into this first because this was interesting that it came up like during the week. But the AI scorecards, and this is I don't know if it's the first time this has ever been done like in boxing. I mean, I'm sure it's been done at some level, but I don't really know. But this is definitely the first huge title fight that's had some sort of AI scorecard. And just so people know, it wasn't like an official scorecard. It was just something that they were doing to test it. And it had Usyk winning 118 to 112. And I mean, I don't know if I agree totally with that. I think that they had the right guy winning, but they seem to have a lot of like tied rounds, which we don't really see as much in boxing right now. And I think that maybe means that we're interpreting the rule set wrong, or that maybe however the AI scorecard was programmed was kind of wrong in the way that it was reading those rules. I guess maybe the truth might be somewhere in the middle, but I don't know. I mean, the only reason why I really want to bring it up is because we talk so much, especially on this show, about like judging both in MMA and boxing, and Turki Al-Sheikh, he seems to be embracing something new, to try it. What's the worst that could happen? We're just testing it out. And, I think the results of it weren't fully correct, but at the same time, they weren't so egregious that I'm like, we should never try this again. So, like, I think the idea is definitely worth exploring, but I don't know if it's the right fix, like, today to fix the issues in judging. Like, I think that we're on the right track, though. But what are your opinions on this just being used and also just the result of it?
Well, I think it can work for something like MMA and boxing when you only have two athletes, on the playing field pretty much. Because I'm gonna make a comparison to other sports, to team sports, where you obviously have a lot more. I won't really say moving parts, but in a way, moving parts and players to account for, because it's been talked about how AI referees might come over to the NFL and maybe the NBA and robo-ump for MLB. So that's kind of where things get a little maybe a little more skeptical, because I think still a human is better fit to referee and stuff, these
So do
games
I,
and
too,
all that.
for the record.
But yeah, I know it is. I think it's still good to have that AI option. It can. There is, I won't say like accuracy to it, but clearly like it had the right winner. If you tell it what to score and stuff and all that, then it can do that. And yeah, like you said, it wasn't so egregious that 118 112 wasn't so egregious that it's something that you can never experiment again. If anything, we've seen actual human judges scorecards be so egregious that's like,
especially in boxing.
yeah, that this guy should never judge a fight ever again, score a fight ever again. So, yeah, that's I'm in the same kind of realm as you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I'm glad that we're actually seeing someone try to fix these problems, because it's one thing to complain about it. And me and you, we kind of, our solution is it's like kind of everyone's solution because it's so general, but it's like maybe write the rules a little better if you don't want like the judging to be so subjective. But this is actually something that can be put into practice, and we can see where it's doing well and where it's not doing well, and it can be tinkered with until it works. And like that's why I'm interested in it. And I agree with you, especially with like other sports where there's like so much more that it would have to look at. But in something like boxing or something like MMA or really any combat sport or one-on-one sport, I think it's something that can be explored and perfected hopefully at some point. I don't think it's going to be the fix right now, but who knows what this is going to be like in 5-10 years when this technology is even more advanced. And I'm excited to see what could come of it, because I like the human element, but also sometimes you see the human element can really screw fighters over, and that's the part that I don't like. So it's in my head, if it can be perfected in a way where everyone's pretty satisfied with it, the promoters, fighters, commissions, and the fans, that's a hard thing to do, but you'd hope that maybe that could happen, and this was the start of that, you know what I mean? So I was intrigued by it. I like we said, the right person won, so not too bad. But to move on to what's next for both of these fighters, and we were kind of talking a little bit about this before, but for Alexander Usyk, now he's had that second Fury fight. I think they had the rematch clause in the contract for the first fight, so that's why we got to see it again so soon. But then now Usyk needs a new opponent, and right now it's looking like Daniel Dubois could be an option. He's had a few nice wins lately, obviously the most notable over Anthony Joshua, and Usyk and him have fought already, but I do think that it's worth running back, even though the first fight wasn't really that competitive, just because, for one, there's the controversy with the low blow, and some people thought that Usyk may have milked that a little bit and gotten more time, and which really helped him finish the fight. But although Usyk was winning all the rounds before that too, so it's just because there's a conversation, and then also the fact that Dubois has had some big wins and is probably going to come into this fight more confident than maybe he did in the first fight. So that could be an option. I guess Tyson Fury, you can't really fully take him off the table, but when it comes to trilogies and one guy won both of them, I feel like you have to have more fights in between. But you talked about earlier in the show how Fury's such a big star. I guess you can never really fully count that option out, but I would like to see Dubois a lot more. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not in any rush to see a Dubois rematch either. I know that he has fought who he's fought since then, and has beaten who he's beat since his fight with Usyk. But I think Usyk also, at the same time, you can say the same thing for him. He just fought Tyson Fury twice, defending his titles and
beating one of the greatest modern heavyweights
yeah,
twice.
Yeah, like I said,
it's definitely true.
Like I alluded to before, it went from a fight that we weren't so sure was ever actually going to happen because of everything surrounding it, like money, for instance, and Usyk not getting his fair share, and
Saudi Arabia fix that. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're both, Tyson Fury and Usyk are some really well paid men now. So yeah, here we are 24 rounds later between those two, and Usyk just picked up another hard fought victory over Tyson. So I'm at just where it stands right now, I think. Not to say Dubois should fight somebody else before he gets another crack at Usyk, but I just think Usyk can take that time off, and like however long that might be is all right with me. I think he's definitely in that spot now, and that's just how I feel. Like I still like when that fight still happened between those two, even with like conditions, with the rain and stuff that was going on during that fight between them. And say what you will about the low blow controversy and stuff, whether or not it should have been scored a knockdown for Dubois. Yeah, Usyk was still winning the fight. Afterwards, was still handling his business. I think he had a knockdown of Dubois as well.
Yeah,
after
I think he
that.
really finished him. So
Finished him, yes, exactly. So,
I
at
guess
that point
to
in
argue
time,
the other side though, like it's if you think that was a clean body shot, then you think that Usyk might have gotten finished there. I think that's like where the other side of it
yeah,
comes in.
he
But I also
definitely.
think that
It
Usyk
was
is the best.
yeah,
Like,
it was strange. Like he definitely did.
because
You
his
could
corner was saying
clearly-
it too, like, take your time, take your
Yeah,
time.
clearly
Like,
in a lot of pain.
yeah.
It was definitely
I have to
granted a
watch it
lot
again.
of. Yeah, I saw it earlier today before coming here. Like definitely granted a lot of time, and you
Well,
could.
I'll ask you this, like, because it's been a little bit since I've seen it, like, in terms of a low blow, like, what do you think? You think it was low, or you think
It was like
'cause
it was
from what I remember,
right.
it was close.
It was like right on the belt line.
Yeah, like-
and I honestly,
It's like
I
how high
would have
is he wearing
scored
his
it.
shorts?
Yeah, exactly. Like Tyson
Tyson
Fury in
Fury's
this
got it up
fight.
to like his nipple
Yeah.
line. So
I personally would have scored it a knockdown for Dubois.
yeah, because I mean, if you're talking about Tyson Fury, for example, he's got the shorts up to the nipple line. If you hit him in the liver, that's technically a low blow. So, but yeah, I think the fact that we're even having the conversation shows you that there is at least some wiggle room
Yeah,
and a debate
there's
to be
enough
had.
to talk. It's just that I'm not in a rush to see it again. Yeah, Dubois is in his right to feel as passionate and stuff as he does, but Usyk is definitely earned the time off, deserves the time off, and yeah, I'm not in a crazy rush to see him fight again. Obviously, I'm never gonna complain with seeing Alexander Usyk get booked for a fight, but yeah, as just still how I feel, I think he's simply the best in the world. So
Simply the best. Sorry, I don't know what that. Just the phrase. You've heard that song, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but
it's true. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to say it like that.
that should be his
It's
new
the-
walkout song. Oh man. But to end off the show with this, because I think this is another conversation that we could have. What's next for Tyson Fury? Does he ride off into the sunset? He doesn't strike me as a guy right now that seems like he wants to call it quits, especially thinking that he won that fight. But right now, it's like, where do you go? Because you can't just give him another Usyk rematch, right? I mean, we've seen
Right.
crazier shit in combat sports, but I think that right now, the fight to make is Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. I think it's a fight that we've heard rumblings about for the past however many years at this point. And they're both at an interesting point in their careers because they've had some losses, but they're still both all-time great boxers. And me personally, I think that this is the best time that they could make this fight, and I really want to see it. And I think Tyson Fury, like you said with Usyk, has earned a little bit of time off if he wants that. But when he comes back, if he does, I'd love to see him fight Anthony Joshua because, yeah, it wouldn't be for the titles, but it would be just such a fun fight for the fans. And I think who wouldn't want to see that? You know what I mean? They've been talking to each other all these years. Let's get this one done.
Yeah, I think you've seen. So yeah, those would be interesting because whereas the fight with Dubois and Usyk would be a rematch, like this would be the first time we see Joshua and Tyson Fury step across from each other. So for Tyson Fury's case, and even more so, why I feel like there shouldn't be any rush to book Usyk in a rematch with Dubois. In Tyson Fury's case, is he can add another legendary name to his resume, and they both have incredible resumes. But Tyson Fury, he can add another name, and Joshua there.
Vice versa. If Joshua wins that fight, I mean, yeah, it's Fury coming off of a couple of losses, but it's a couple of losses to the best guy in the world right now. And I would love to see it.
Yeah,
It's a super fight.
it is kind of, with Tyson Fury at this point, it's almost as if like he could just be boxing for fun, but when you're fighting Usyk twice for the belts and stuff, and you're weighing in on what you do and stuff, and like clearly like he was really all business in this fight with Usyk, and whatever it took to beat him, he was gonna take that route. So it's still yeah, at that point with Tyson Fury where he still really wants to fight the best of the best, and actually win and just keep adding to his legend, which is, I respect that. I definitely respect that. Yeah, there was a point with Tyson Fury where we were like, man, is it, how Tyson Fury's kind of changing and stuff? He's just all in it for the money and stuff?
Well, even like going further, it's just like when he beat Klitschko, that whole depression and all the things that he went through. It's crazy to think that he even came back after that to fight Wilder, and obviously don't happen in that fight, in the first fight especially, getting knocked down like that, and just I've still never seen anything quite like that when he got knocked down by Wilder. Like he looked done,
That's
and
what
it
I'm
was
saying.
like something lifted it. Like I've never seen anything like that.
That's why I think
obviously think of the next fight too after that.
Yeah,
just incredible. I mean,
so a Joshua fight, like I said, you're not gonna see Tyson Fury get knocked out. Like that's a hill that I'll die on. But when it comes to seeing him get dropped in like those scary moments and stuff, like the Wilder fight, I think Anthony Joshua is someone that can definitely bring that out of him, and just over the course of 12 rounds, definitely put together a complete fight, and just edge out Tyson Fury. And like you said, like vice versa, it's another legendary name for Joshua's resume too. So
I mean, both of these guys could use a huge win, and I think that this would be the fight to make, and now is really the time to make it. Yeah, we could have seen it for championships in the past, but this seems like the right time, and it almost feels like if we don't get it right now, we're not going to get it. And I don't want to live in a world where we don't see these two guys get in the ring together. Mm-hmm. But, it's a fun fight. And a good way to end off the year combat sports-wise. And, we're happy to be back. It's been too long. Obviously, health is back in my case. You're done with your school stuff. And I think that it's fun that, we've got a little break, which I think you never really think you need it. But then you kind of have it, and you're like, okay, I kind of need a little bit of time to relax. But now it's time to lock back in.
Yeah, well,
we got it.
when you're so committed to like a schedule and stuff that it kind of just, it's like an automatic kind of thing, you just know what day it is and what time that we're gonna start recording and stuff, so it comes like easy and natural. But yeah, when you do take that step back and a week off and you are able to reflect, like it does put stuff in perspective. So
gives you some time to think about things next year and what we got planned, and we definitely have some fun stuff that we've been talking about over the past like couple of months really, but hopefully we'll be able to do a lot of it in 2025. And thanks for everybody who stuck with us in this little inactive period that we've had, because it was a little rough. That was definitely the thing that was on my mind, like damn, I hope we just don't lose like viewership and stuff, and I guess that's yet to be seen. But we're gonna work hard, get back on the horse for you guys, and obviously this is a good podcast to come back on with Fury and Usyk. And next week, be on the lookout. I'm gonna try and get this out next Sunday on the 29th. We're about to film our The Hurt Handbook year in review for 2024, giving out some awards, just talking about some of our favorite moments of the year in combat sports in 2024. And like I said, be on the lookout for that on the 29th most likely. So guys, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for all the support, and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. And we'll see you guys before the new year. So.
Hey, think I'm gon' see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.